Hey everybody, it's Keith, and this is The Tattooed Dad. Alright, on this week's episode, I'm going to show you guys how I built this wooden wall behind me. I spent months and months trying to find an old barn to tear apart so I could get some old rustic wood so I could build a wall. It's something I've been thinking about for over a year, and I finally got to it. Could not find a barn whatsoever to tear apart, and all the extra wood that I could find was just ridiculously priced. So I beat my head against the wall trying to figure out what to do, and I came across this technique of taking vinegar and steel wool and mixing them together and letting them sit for a few days to come up with iron acetate. Iron acetate actually takes the wood and it ages it almost instantly, and it all depends on the type of wood you're using. For this wall, we use just regular cedar planks that we got from Lowe's. Super inexpensive. I think they were $2 a board. The whole project cost us less than 200 bucks to do, and it just turned out incredible. It looks like it's been outside in the weather for years. So stick around. We're gonna show you how it's done, how it's put together, and I hope you enjoy it. All right, so what we're making here, you guys, is called iron acetate, all right? And we're gonna use the iron acetate to stain the wood kind of like a dark gray, in some cases almost black, okay? It's really simple to make. We take steel wool and we put it inside the jar, okay? And then we pour in distilled white vinegar, and it stinks. You wanna smell it? Okay, smell it. Smell it. Yeah? Doesn't smell very good at all, does it?
No.
Okay, well, what you're smelling is the gases releasing from the chemical reaction between the vinegar and the steel wool. All right, so we've been doing this for a couple days, and we're gonna start applying this to the wood, okay? And we've done a little bit here and there. And then we're gonna see how it works. We'll try some stuff. We'll add some red food coloring and see how that works. All right, and give it a shot. And hopefully it turns out how we want to. Because if you look in the wood, you see all the different grains, right? So the iron acetate's going to interact with the tannins in the wood, right? And the different woods have different tannins. Like here, we've got a piece of oak. And you can see that it's almost turned it black, right? That's pretty dark. So there's a lot of tannins in oak, okay? We tried it here with pine, and it's not that dark because there's not a lot of tannins. And then we've also done it here on the cedar. And as you can see, it's having a different reaction on the cedar than we have here, okay? So we'll get this all done, and then we'll get it laid out. We'll cut the piece of wood, and we'll install it.
Okay.
All right? Sound good? Perfect, let's do it.
Maybe you should put a time lapse on this, Dad.
All right, you guys, so I'm taking my son's advice and time-lapsing this so it speeds the process up. Here I'm taking some steel wool that I got at Lowe's. I went and got the finest grade possible. I believe it's quadruple zeros. The stuff you want doesn't have any soap in it, and then I'm mixing in the distilled vinegar. I let it sit for about, I think right here is just about 24 hours, and let it mix in. Everything I saw in my research says to let it sit for a few days. I kind of wanted to see what it was like, and it worked out pretty good after about, I think it was only 24 hours from the time I mixed it to the time I started applying it. I found you should definitely leave the lids off because the iron acetate releases a lot of gas, and if you seal the lids, then you run the risk of I guess blowing the top. As you can see here, I start putting it on without diluting the solution, and it just to see if it would make it darker in areas. I kind of wanted to stagger how I put it on just to give the wood more depth. I go through and I try diluting it with different substances. I dilute some of it with more vinegar, and it seems like that absorbs into the wood a lot easier than when I would dilute it with water. But all in all, you kind of get the same effect. I just dilute it more and more. I add some red food coloring in some areas, and you can't really tell all that much, but there is a little bit of a red tint. I guess I could have used more red food coloring. So as I let the wood sit here and dry, the longer I let it dry, the lighter it gets. As you can see in the picture, it looks almost red, but it doesn't dry that way. It dries a lot darker, and it takes it about anywhere from an hour to a couple hours before the wood really changes and ends up the color that it's gonna stay. And then you just let it dry and it lightens up. So as the wood was drying, I went ahead and prepped the wall inside. I wanted to make this so I could remove it. I also wanted to put LED lights around the edge of it to kind of glow out onto the rest of the wall. So I went and bought some 2x1s and kind of built a frame to attach to the wall. So that way I wasn't trying to attach this wall straight to the drywall. So if I want to take it down the road, then I can. I hung some plywood, and this was just to give me a lot of area to secure the wood, the planks to the actual wall. I then went and got some black fabric. Now, if you're just attaching this to an already wall that you really don't care about, go ahead and paint that wall black, because the wood's gonna shrink. Regardless of what technique you're gonna use, the wood's gonna shrink, and you'll end up seeing the wood behind the wood wall and in the cracks, and it just doesn't look that good. So cover it in black. Here I use fabric just because it was quick, it was easy, and I didn't have to mess around with painting. So I cover the wall in black, and then as you can see, I've cut out space for the outlets. So here I am, I'm finishing up the wall, and I believe I also turn on the lights for you towards the end. After I was finished, I realized the wall was a little darker than I wanted, so I lightly brush on some white chalk paint just to bring out the saw marks and to lighten up the wood. All right, so there you have it. The wall's complete. It took me roughly a couple hours each day. I worked on it for about 5 days while my fiance was out of town. And it came together amazingly. And I know my fiance really appreciates it. This is actually her makeup studio for filming her videos. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to my channel, and let me know what you guys want to see next. We got a lot of things. I do a little bit of everything, so don't be shy. Hit me up and let me know.